Welcome back to Hey Kentucky. I'm very happy to be joined by one of my favorite people from the Georgia Football Radio Network, Tony Schiavone. Tony, how are you, sir?
Hey, Matt, how are you? Good to talk to you, buddy.
You don't know what a huge honor it always is. I've been watching you on my TV because I still go back and watch old WCW pay-per-views, and it's like, hey, I know that guy, and it makes me happy every time.
I appreciate that. It's kind of like old school R&B. You can never get tired of it, right?
That's exactly right. That's right.
Right.
I'm going to ask you a question about that later. But let's first talk Kentucky and Georgia. You follow the Bulldogs, Kirby Smart, a new head coach, a lot of expectations because of what he had done at Alabama. How have things been going for him in his first year?
Well, as you know by the record, Matt, with 4 losses, it's been tough. They got beat up by Florida last weekend, lost to Vanderbilt. Barely got by Nichols. So other than that, they've had some pretty good things. I don't know how high the expectations were for Kirby Smart in this first year. I think more the realization is that they were going to have kind of a trying season. I think the expectations in the future are much higher than they are, especially right now. The team is 4-4.
Now, coming into this year, I assumed the running attack with Chubb and I forget the other guy's name, but I assumed
Sony Michel.
Yes, exactly. That it was going to be one of the top 3 or 4 in the country, and that just hasn't materialized. Why is that?
Because I think the weakness of the team, Matt, is the offensive line. They've been overmatched many times. They were really overmatched against the Florida Gators. Vanderbilt's got a very good defense this year. And I know Kentucky's played Vanderbilt, and they had a tough time with Vanderbilt. They have had some games where they have been able to run the ball, and they've won those games. They beat North Carolina the first game. They were able to run the ball. Chubb had over 100 yards. They were able to run the ball against South Carolina a couple of weeks back and won that ball game as well. So if they can run the ball, like you said, they're going to be able to do quite well. But again, the offensive line, and even though the offensive line has some experience, the offensive line has really not played well this year.
Now, you're down there. Kentucky, of course, has been surprisingly good in the last few weeks. And this game here, people are taking as a massive thing. If you can win, you might have a shot at the SEC East. Obviously, Georgia's one of those teams Kentucky sort of sees as like a place they want to be. Down there, how are people looking at the Kentucky game?
They're looking at the Kentucky game as if, boy, we hope we can win and get into a bowl game. Because you got to win 6 games to get to a bowl game. We still got Auburn ahead of us. We still got Georgia Tech. We still got Kentucky. And now I think a lot of people are just concerned about trying to get to a bowl game. And I know Kentucky is trying to win, their 3rd in a row, maybe 4th game in a row. Yeah, so I think right now the momentum is on Kentucky's side.
You know, for people who know wrestling, they know who you are. And then there's all people who don't know wrestling who don't know. And I always find that's got to be an interesting dynamic for you, isn't it? You have a group of people who literally watched you every week, and then you have a group of people who don't know wrestling from Adam. Is that strange at all?
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I found out it depends on kind of the age group. Mm-hmm. I think for most people who watched cable TV back in the 90s and were a part of the Monday Night Wars, I think those people, that age group, I think I'm talking to one right now.
Yes, you are.
That's right. They all remember me. A lot of the younger people do not. It is kind of weird, but I really do. I am honored and I appreciate every good thing that someone has said to me. You know, hey, I used to watch you. Hey, I grew up watching you on TV, which makes me feel old. But I really am honored and appreciate that because we did, Matt, as you know, in the 90s. With the Monday Night Wars and WCW and WWE, we had a profound impact on cable TV back then.
No, there's no doubt about that. One of these days I'm going to get you on my podcast just to tell stories. But let's do a short one. If you were to go look back, give me the 3 or 4 wrestlers, people you were around that you liked the most and that you look back at with the fondest memories.
I would say it would be Arn Anderson.
Okay.
And Arn and I are still good friends. Arn is originally from Rome, Georgia. He's a big Georgia Bulldog fan, and we still talk now and then about the Georgia football team. He lives in Charlotte, and I do the Charlotte baseball team. I do the Gwinnett baseball team. We play in Charlotte, and in the International League, we also play the Louisville Bats. So I see him when we go to Charlotte now and then. Ric Flair, because Rick was instrumental in my career moving from minor league baseball into wrestling. And another one who was instrumental in my career was Dusty Rhodes, the late Dusty Rhodes. He was instrumental in me moving from baseball into wrestling back in the middle '80s, back in the old TBS days. So those three had the most impact on my career. I'm also very fond, although I don't really talk to him that much anymore, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. He was a good friend at one time, and I just don't get to see him that much anymore. I was friends with a lot of them. You know, I miss them. I miss a lot of the guys. I was able to go to the NWA fan convention in Charlotte, North Carolina in August this year and got to reconnect with a lot of the guys that I hadn't seen in many, many years, including JR, Jim Ross, and Bob Cottle, who was a longtime announcer at Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling in the Carolinas. And that was wonderful. That was absolutely wonderful. I wish I could do more of that.
Yeah, I could talk wrestling with you all day, but they're telling me I'm going to have to go to break. But listen,
Okay.
Tony Schiavone, really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday, and hopefully we can have you on again soon. Thank you, sir.
Matt, always good talking to you. Always good seeing you, especially when we come to Rupp Arena. And I look forward to talking to you anytime. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, by the way, you guys have a good basketball team this year, right? I mean, isn't it going to be better?
Yeah. They're going to be a lot better. Yes, they are. They got a couple of real good recruits. And, of course, some pretty good guys coming back, Yante Maton and J.J. Frazier. I think they're going to be competitive this year, a little bit more competitive than the years gone by.
All right. Thank you very much, Tony Schiavone.